In terms of the implications of the conflict in the Ukraine and Russian actions in Crimea on the global economy and the European economies, I think one has to look at what would be the response, what might be the response of the U.S. and the European Union to these events. Certainly a possible scenario is that Europe and the U.S. impose sanctions on Russia, and that potentially in that situation Russia might retaliate economically, not militarily, but economically. That would have a bigger impact on Europe, which depends so much on natural gas and oil from Russia through these various pipelines. U.S. isn't, obviously not as dependent, not even close to being dependent on the situation in Russia or Russian energy supplies. The U.S. has its own now. So the bigger deal is for Europe. And so in a worst case scenario, if say oil and gas supplies to Europe get disrupted, I think that could have a big negative effect on European growth. So that's the concern right now, and I think that's one of the reasons the Europeans are a little reluctant to be too aggressive in terms of any kinds of sanctions. Assuming the military conflict remains contained in terms of Crimea or, let's say, other parts of eastern Ukraine, I think the focus of a lot of the financial panic, if you want to call it that, is mostly on Russia. It doesn't, look like it's going to spread elsewhere in terms of the military conflict. And Russia is not so connected financially, for example, with the rest of the world, that you would see huge contagion effects from this. I think a lot of investors understand this is a unique situation. Now, the effects on Russia will be pretty horrific. Already Russia is viewed in negative terms by investors. This, I think, worsens that image, and I think already we've seen the ruble being hit very hard. We've seen a lot of an acceleration of capital flight from Russia. So one of the biggest losers from this will be Russia.